May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Prince?
Here.
Mr. Person?
Here.
Ms. Witchy?
Here.
Mr. McGurven?
Here.
Ms. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Pavoni?
Here.
Mr. Corman? Roll call, Mr. Mayor, one absent.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move we excuse the absent council member.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Mr. Pavoni, that council excuse Councilmember Corman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, first item on the agenda is a proclamation, an important proclamation.
This proclamation is for Feeding the Hungry of Renton Day. Whereas the City of Renton recognizes adequate nutrition as a basic goal for each citizen, and whereas no parent should have to send a child to school hungry, no baby should be without the comfort of the feedings needed for mental and physical growth, and no elderly person's health should be jeopardized by lack of appropriate foods. And whereas Renton Salvation Army Food Bank, Emergency Feeding Program of Seattle, King County, and REACH, working with the City of Renton, local churches, and social service agencies, and hundreds of volunteers strive day in and out to stem the rising tide of hunger, but still need more help. And whereas we believe that when our citizens who are not involved hear the desperate needs of the hungry, an outpouring of community assistance will follow. And whereas the City of Renton urges all citizens to join Renton Salvation Army, REACH, the Emergency Feeding Program, and other local agencies and food banks in fighting hunger. Now therefore I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim January 22nd, 2018 to be Feeding the Hungry of Renton Day in the City of Renton. And I encourage all citizens to join me in this special observance. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 22nd day of January 2018, and it is signed by Mayor Dennis Law.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Mr. Pavoni, that this proclamation be adopted as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Our pleasure to present this proclamation to Howard McComber, who is a representative from REACH and who has been working on hunger in the community for a long time.
Thank you very much. Howard McComber, and I live in Renton. Want to thank you very much for this proclamation. We could not do what we do without support from everybody, and especially in our case, our city. Our city is the poster child of how you should work with the volunteers. We have a tremendous volunteer effort going on always in this city, and you folks here on the council are great examples of what it takes to make it succeed. We do need more. This is a tough time for people, especially winter. Winter is so much tougher than summer, and hunger is an awful monster. And we appreciate all that you do, and we do ask the community to step up a little bit more if they would and help us with things. Some of the things we need besides the food are like socks. Socks are a real important commodity. Those sorts of things make a difference. I want to thank you very, very much for your constant support.
Thank you, Howard. Okay, next item is the administrative report. Mr. Covington?
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I would just remind folks is we do have a number of construction projects going on in town. You can get information about those on our website and on our Facebook page. But most importantly, as you're driving around town, if you see cones up or people working in the street, please use caution and be careful driving around there. We have people working in the rights of way, and we certainly don't want to have anybody get injured. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next item is audience comments. I have several people that have signed up to address the council. When I call your name, please give your name and city of residence for the record. You come up to the podium. You have 5 minutes. We have a timer with a light on it with the city clerk. And first will be Christy Champlin.
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Christy Champlin, Champlin. I have been a resident in Upper Kennydale for 19 years. I own my home, and it's been a great concern over the years. The odors of Cedar Grove have been plaguing our community. We started a next door discussion about it, and it seems to keep getting deferred. Cedar Grove has a practice of settling lawsuits and also paying fines, exorbitant fines, as a cost of doing business. As residents, really all we want is for the problem to be fixed. People should live in a clean community, have fresh air, and be outside. And if you are affected by this, you'll know what I'm talking about. I've become physically ill from this, and I'm begging the council to please. King County would not address this. I tried to approach them because I was told it was not in our jurisdiction, but the odors are in our jurisdiction, and we're just asking for your help to have someone address and fix the problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Philip Schmidt. Is it Pathman?
Yes,
Okay, sorry, Philip.
no worries. Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. Thank you for listening to us. And I was invited by Christy and others to speak tonight on this. I'm from the company Neomi, and we are intricately involved in the solid waste division decisions. And currently within King County, you know, the solid waste plan has just been released for public comment on January 8th. We were involved in the recent study about waste to energy. And the reason why I'm speaking here tonight is because if you have to look at the bigger picture, we believe that that composting and biogas are good ideas. They're well thought of and well rounded. However, the underlying problem that we're all facing is that landfilling is too cheap. It might sound far-fetched, but I've been doing this for 20 years. For 8 years, I was on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee for King County, and we constantly for 20 years been working on this issue. If landfilling becomes more expensive, each ton of waste going to landfill, you have to visualize it that we're taking a loan out for each ton we put into the landfill of waste, because we lose resources, and a landfill will have to be maintained for at least 1,000+ years. They don't go away. So the cost will stay with us, and the liners will fail, the top caps will fail, and I deal a lot with European governments. And for example, Germany has phased out untreated waste going to landfill. So is Denmark and other countries. There's several of them. And for an interesting fact, I think is mind-boggling, the country of Germany, with over 80 million people, landfill only 1/4, and it's all pre-treated of what we landfill in King County. So, and that's for 2 million people. However, the bottom line is that like something like Cedar Grove Compost, an entity that's very valuable to a community providing new resources and new materials, needs to be able to function correctly. And for example, any composting facility in Germany, the regulation is to have it housed, to have no impact to the outside communities, to no impact to the environment. They have to collect all the leachate and treat it, all the emissions, everything over 10,000 tons a year has to be housed in an enclosed facility. So why I'm speaking tonight is I believe that you have an opportunity now, and continue to, when you work with the King County, to put pressure on them to say, you know, we want to look at alternatives to landfilling. We believe that might not be the best idea, even though if it's packaged and sold as such. And we had European expert look at this at the review, the plan with us, a part of our team. And everybody came back and said it's packaged in a way that you feel landfilling is safe, sound, cheap, everything is good about it, which exactly is the opposite of what we say in Europe. So in order for Cedar Grove to operate correctly, it would be good to change direction for the county away from landfilling and find alternatives to build these, be it in composting, biogas, recycling, and even treating waste in facilities that are known and proven to be cost-effective, more cost-effective than actually a landfill if you take the long-term cost and environmental cost into consideration. And I'm willing to speak if you have any more questions on this. I mean, the one thing that comes to mind is when you say landfill less in Germany, the average citizen in Germany pays now less than the average King County resident for their waste pickup fees. In addition to that, it's not subsidized, what I've been told, and Germany has over 500 years of landfill space available. To put that in a contrast when we say, well, they have no land available, they have all these things, they're not available. So just want to bring this to your attention. I think having Cedar Grove is great, but we can do a lot better with what they have. Get the odors out, make it a good neighbor, and work with that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Prince?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I would suggest, it's been a while, we get sporadic complaints about Cedar Grove. We get a lot of them more from people living outside of the city limits. probably Fairwood and some areas that are a little bit closer. I'm wondering if maybe we could refer this to one of the committees, and I'll have staff research with,
Absolutely.
would that be utilities, Jay, you think?
Yeah.
Is that okay, Mr. McGurven?
It's actually Carol Ann.
Councilmember Ritchie is the chair.
Oh, Carol Ann, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that fine with you?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we should have a motion
so
to.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I
Mr.
move that we refer the issue of Cedar Grove composting to the Utilities Committee.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Pavoni. We refer this topic to the Utilities Committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. So what we'll do before we schedule for your committee is communicate with King County that we're receiving these complaints and try to get a little more information on what's going on. Okay. Thank you. Next, let's see, next is Kim Allen.
Good evening, Mayor Law, Deputy Mayor Prince, council members. My name is Kim Allen. I am with the Wireless Policy Group here tonight representing Verizon Wireless to speak to you about the small cell ordinance that's before you. We want to thank staff for working collaboratively with the industry. We have just a few more remaining issues to work through, and we hope that the council will provide us with the time we need to come to resolution on those issues. I think that we can all agree that cell phones and wireless devices are here to stay. And in fact, data needs are increasing so rapidly that we can barely keep track of them, and Renton's network is severely overstressed right now. Your residents and your businesses and your visitors all expect these devices to work seamlessly everywhere in the city of Renton. The growth in your community and your local economic development depends on that. But the network is stressed, and small cells are the fix. There are many cities across Washington that are amending their codes right now to facilitate small cell technology. But there are 3 provisions tonight that put Renton at a competitive disadvantage to receive this small cell technology. None of the dozens of cities that are amending their codes right now to enable small cell deployments have placed any of these restrictions on the wireless industry. Renton would be an outlier. Cities that are adopting codes that facilitate small cells are now receiving the benefits of that investment. Cities to take note of are Kirkland, Spokane, and the city of Kenmore, all of which have applications in the door to bring this technology to their residents and businesses. So the first issue is a prohibition of small cells on utility poles in districts that will be undergrounded at some future date. We're asking that that you allow us to place small cell facilities on wooden utility poles in districts that are to be undergrounded in the future. Carriers have lease agreements with Puget Sound Energy to enable rapid deployment of small cells on existing utility poles. Carriers are also required to sign an agreement with the city that we will remove and relocate these small cells if a pole is undergrounded, and we will do that at the carrier's cost. Now, some areas in your city are designated as underground districts but aren't due to be undergrounded for 2 to 10 years, which makes those existing poles usable for rapid deployment of small cells in the interim. The second issue is version A of the code, which requires that all equipment essentially be screwed directly to the pole. This violates the National Electric Safety Code requirement that attachments be offset to allow the pole to remain climbable. It is also not allowed by Puget Sound Energy or any pole owner. Version A would require the carriers to do an infeasible mounting or face more time-consuming and costly approval process, which would require public notice signs on each pole and mailed notice to everyone within 300 feet of each utility pole. Version B recognizes the infeasibility of version 1 and allows the use of required mounting brackets to achieve the required standoff and keep the pole climbable. I want to reiterate that no other city in the Puget Sound region has imposed a restriction on mounting brackets. We simply cannot attach our antennas to the pole in a legal way without them. Number 3, the code only allows batching of up to 5 small cell applications at a time. These applications are usually identical to the others in the batch and require much less staff time than typical land use applications. None of the other cities, and there are dozens, my frequent flyer miles attest to it. I just arrived back from Spokane County talking to them about small cells. None of the other cities or counties are contemplating these 3 types of restrictions. In fact, the template ordinance that most cities are adopting, prepared by Ogden Murphy Wallace, a municipal law firm, allow batching of 15 small cell nodes at one time. So we are asking, we in the industry, we want to get this right in the city of Renton. The demand is great here in the city of Renton. We're asking this council to delay a second reading for some additional comment and work with staff. We, the public, only received the ordinance at the end of last week, showing that 2 alternative ordinances that were going to be proposed to the council. Please take the time to get this right. The carriers have a significant and valuable investment to make in the city of Renton, and we would like the opportunity to do so in an efficient way that also protects the aesthetic values that the city has. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Amy Pellegrini.
Good evening, Mayor Law, Council President Prince, and council members. My name is Amy Pellegrini. I'm with Wireless Policy representing AT&T. I think you received my letter, or our letter today, regarding our comments on this. I'd like to go over them because they're extremely important to the deployment of AT&T small cell network. I'd also like to stress that these are not coverage sites. These are capacity sites where the network's already stressed providing data use. It's not just voice. You've heard this before, but the standoff brackets, we would like to see the standoff brackets as preferred concealment techniques that are allowed. This option would allow placement of AT&T's antennas at locations other than the top of the pole when a pole top placement would not be feasible due to height limitations or design requirements. For this reason, we would definitely prefer to see option B approved. We would also like to see small cell installations of wooden utility poles in urban design and underground districts allowed. A substantial portion of the city is designated in an urban design district, and some of these areas have not been redeveloped in accordance with the city's urban design regulations. Instead, these areas continue to be served by wooden utility poles. AT&T suggests that city's code allows small cell facilities on these poles until the relevant area is redeveloped, such that the utilities are relocated and be replaced. From a zoning perspective, allowing these small cell installations on existing wooden poles has little impact on the surrounding area, and future relocation is typically addressed in the city's franchise agreement and would take place at the carrier's expense. We would also like to see 10 additional feet in height allowed. The minimum height required to meet safety clearance requirements, or the minimum required height to meet safety clearance, whichever is greater. The proposed height standard leaves the poles without wires, such as light poles without a means for obtaining a deviation in height. The code otherwise allows pole top canisters, which would extend the height of the pole, and we suggest that the 10-foot alternative standard from the prior draft be retained. We would also like to see pole top antenna canisters of 16 inches in diameter, or the same diameter of the pole, whichever is greater. Then, if shown to be technically required, a larger diameter, not more than 50% greater than the diameter of the pole. This expressly allows a typical canister size, which may be somewhat larger than the tapered top of a utility pole. We would also like to see the batches of a typical 15 small cell sites, which was allowed in the prior draft. And that's it. We'd also like to have a chance to address this in a public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Linda Atkins.
Good evening. My name is Linda Atkins. I'm an attorney with Davis Wright Germain. I'm here tonight on behalf of T-Mobile. You've heard my colleagues speak to a number of issues with the ordinance in front of you, and what I would like to add, I guess, is to ask that we step back for just a minute and we think about what is the purpose, what is the point of enacting a small cell ordinance. And as Kim Allen and the other speaker have referenced, this technology is something that is really going to help the carriers meet existing demand for wireless services. It helps to smooth out the bumps in data transmission. It's a significantly different size and form factor from what you're used to seeing with wireless facilities. We're not talking about monopoles with a bunch of antennas on top. These truly are small facilities, and their whole purpose is to help handle the traffic on the network. And I think that the issues for T-Mobile with the ordinance that in front of you really involve some pretty late-breaking changes. We had worked with the staff previously through a number of iterations of this ordinance, and I would just like to thank the City of Renton staff for their outreach to the industry and their very open attitude towards working with the industry. And I think that for the most part, the ordinance is in pretty good shape, except for a couple of issues that have to do with the process provided. So again, the point of a small cell ordinance is to help to make sure that the interests of the citizen and the city's aesthetics are addressed and considered and preserved, but also to help speed up the delivery of these additional services to the citizens of Renton. And so that's the point of having a streamlined process. And I would say a couple of things in this ordinance as it stands right now that work against that are, first of all, the limit on the small cell permit batches to 5 sites per batch. It's significantly smaller, significantly less than most other jurisdictions are allowing. And I think when I looked at the criteria, so if you're batching small cell permits, everything has to be the same. The type of facility that you're going to install has to be the same. The type of pole that it's going to go on has to be the same, has to be in the same area. So I guess I would submit to you that the administrative burden is probably going to be less than staff fears. And it might make sense for the City of Renton to follow the other jurisdictions in our area that are adopting 15 or 20 sites per batch. The other topic that I wanted to address is the fee schedule. So there's a fee schedule that's attached to the ordinance that's in your packet, and it's the first time that I think any of us have seen the fees that would be charged for small cell permit applications. So it's $500 per site is the fee you have to pay on application, and then I guess the staff will track the costs of processing the application and potentially add those costs onto the cost of issuing the permit. And there's an absolutely a legitimate concern of the city in wanting to make sure that it doesn't incur additional costs for making the ability for the carriers to roll out this technology. But there's a trade-off if you think about if it's going to take, let's say, 200 small cells to across the City of Renton to make sure that City of Renton citizens are able to get the quality of service that they deserve, and it's $500 plus per site. That could add up to a significant cost for the carrier. And when the carriers are looking at how they prioritize which communities to bring the technology to first, cost is absolutely a factor. And there's got to be a kind of a point in there where we're effectively addressing your concern about the cost of processing the applications, but not making it so expensive that the City of Renton maybe doesn't get a very high priority in rolling out the technology. So again, thank you very much for having your staff work with the industry, and I would also, on behalf of T-Mobile, encourage you to rethink the choice between option A and option B. We think option B is more appropriate overall, and will better allow the service that your citizens need to be provided. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tim Gasser.
Good evening. I really wasn't planning on coming up here and talking. I came here to answer questions that you might have. I'm the Senior Project Manager for Wireless Co-Location at Puget Sound Energy. Puget Sound has been doing wireless co-location for 20 years. Small cell is brand new to us. And mostly our position is we're neutral on your code. We're here to respond to questions of what we can and can't allow on our pole, so that if you make up a ruling and it says it's fine, but we can't do it, so we'll deny applications. So mainly I'm here for, as an information resource.
Okay, council have any questions?
I had one question.
Yes, Ms. Witchy.
The previous speaker mentioned that the flush application on the poles was illegal. Is this true?
It kind of varies from pole to pole, pole type. Is it transmission? Is it distribution? Is it a street light? If saying a wood distribution pole, if it's below our conductor, our primary conductor at the top of the pole, then yes, it has to be stood off so that a lineman, or whether he's a communications lineman or an electrical lineman, can safely climb the pole. And our minimum separation is 5 inches. So when you see conduit, the risers for where we transitioned underground, the cable transitions underground, those are on standoff brackets. With, again, a minimum separation from the face of the pole to the inside of the conduit being 5 inches. And that would apply to cabinets, antenna, anything. Once you get to the top of the pole, we've always preferred chain mounting for the macro sites where they have the 5 to 8 foot antennas. They tend to have amplifiers and other units associated with that. Those are often put behind the antenna to kind of conceal them. But for the couple, well, they're more like DAS that we've done, one in Medina, one in Bellevue. We've allowed through bolting when they're at the top of the pole, and that might get them a little closer, but you're looking at 6 to 12 inches just so they can get the lines, the coax or fiber from the radios to the antenna.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Diane Dobson.
Good evening, Council. I'm Diane Dobson, Renton resident. I'm here about a few issues. Republic Services. I live in a neighborhood where we've experienced a number of challenges with our residential garbage pickups, namely missed pickups, since transitioning to Republic Services. I'm not here on behalf of the neighborhood. I'm here as a resident of the neighborhood. We've become quite familiar with the offices on Wells South. Gay and Vicky, the customer service reps, are extremely kind and helpful as they can be. We've also found success in communicating via the text line. The challenge for us, however, is that we have the challenges to begin with that necessitate that outreach at all. We've been advised Republic is having a hiring challenge and still does not have regular drivers in our area. We've now established a decent relationship with John Gelsner, a local supervisor who's given out his personal cell phone number and has gone to residents' houses to discuss the various challenges faced. Again, incredibly friendly and wants to find a solution where he can, but the challenges are still happening. I reached out recently to the city, Linda Knight, and asked her for information on assistance for dispute resolution, and she advised that Republic is a third-party contractor and communication would need to take place directly with them, despite the fact that city ordinance mandates us as residents to contract with Republic or the utility carrier of your choice. My specific purpose for reaching out to Ms. Knight was because we have a physical structure, a carport that's been hit 3 times on 2 different occasions by a Republic garbage truck, now requiring repair. Despite photos and evidence and open communication with the supervisor, the insurance agent for Republic now denies our claims, as the various drivers cannot confirm if they're the ones that hit the structure. When I explained our challenges to Ms. Knight, she expressed an understanding for Republic and the sub-situation by saying everyone seems to be having staffing challenges, and you must be a neighborhood that has some challenges. I asked if there were a lot of neighborhoods experiencing the challenges, as the feedback that we are receiving seems to be citywide of various challenges, specifically billing challenges that are being faced with Republic. And she says that Republic reports there within the industry standards for service level. Asked how the city confirms this, and she said that Republic provides monthly updates for their calls and challenges. Yet she had no awareness of my specific incident despite multiple months of incident, which then leads me to question if Republic is sharing their incidents in completeness. We're hearing more and more of neighbors still having billing issues, being erroneously sent to collection. Neighbors are now receiving notice from the City of Renton of intent to lien or liens being placed on the property, all of which takes time and energy for our residents to resolve and add to their frustrations, and quite frankly takes away from their quality of life. So I'm concerned that Republic does not have reason to be forthcoming with their service levels. I'm concerned with the dismissive response I received when calling the city for support that Republic is a third-party contractor. Finally, I would respectfully request city ordinance mandating the use of city contracted solid waste be reviewed or revised to provide an opt-out clause for those neighbors who are fed up, frustrated, and not receiving the support from the city on the contract that you all have contracted with, and neighbors that would never choose personally to continue to do business with a company whose performance is less than stellar and their efforts towards solution are often minimal. A couple other items that I would like to draw attention to: the Cedar Grove composting. I thank the city tonight for your efforts in response to the challenges that were brought forth. Really hope to see the city support continue for the residents who are impacted by the odors from Cedar Grove. While the facility itself sits in Maple Valley, your Renton residents are being impacted. Senate Bill 5431 relating to composting consideration is on the table right now. Considering composting as an agricultural activity, which would further protect these composting agencies. You also have a prime opportunity for influence as a municipality for influence with King County Solid Waste, and would hope to see you support your residents like other municipalities such as Everett, Marysville, and the two Laylac tribes are currently. My third issue is the various homeless camps and encampments throughout the city and the cleanup on the same. 601 Rainier Avenue South have been talking to the city for a number of years now on that one. Can I pose the question to the council if anyone is familiar with that location or has gone out to visit the location itself? That's the 601 Rainier Avenue, which is just north of the St. Vincent de Paul parking lot.
Full council's aware of that because we've been working on that for some time.
Can the citizens expect to see any sort of resolution coming forward from that?
Well, we certainly hope so. We're working on it. We've been working on it for quite a while. I don't know if, well, go ahead and finish your comments. And
I think that about sums it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shane, can you just brief the council what we've done with that particular site and some of the issues we've had?
Yeah, code enforcement's been involved with that for several months at least. The issue that we're experiencing there is that there's several properties that.
Get close to the mic.
Thank you. That there's several properties that intersect in a way that makes it unclear where exactly garbage and bulky waste is stored. We're working with several different owners. Some of them have been cooperative. Some of them have been less cooperative. I believe violations have been gone out. And it's a process that just involves a lot of work. And we always try to get voluntary compliance before we have to go to court, because going to court takes even more months than it's taking for voluntary compliance. So we're working on it. We expect it to get resolved, hopefully sooner than later.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity for feedback on that.
You
I
bet.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, there are 6 items for council consideration. Are there any items a council member would like pulled for discussion?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Now I gotta find out which one it is. I'd like to pull, for community services, is item E.
Item E, okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move we adopt the consent agenda as published minus item E.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Ms. Witchy, that council approve the consent agenda minus item E. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Person.
Well, Mr. Mayor, this is one of my favorite topics because this is one that involves getting money. Originally, this was scheduled to come to the Finance Committee, but we ran into a timing glitch. If the community services have to have a report and acceptance in by the end of this week, or we would lose out on $259,515. And this is to provide a STEM-type program up in the Highlands Rec for the young population up there. It makes so much sense, and I don't want to see us lose it. So with that, I move that the council concur in the recommendation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council approve item E of the consent agenda. Any questions or further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Ayes have it. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the committee of whole has one committee report.
Okay, this committee report is regarding City Code Title 4, 2017 Docket Group Number 12C, Small Cell and Distributed Antenna Systems. The Committee of the Whole has reviewed the information provided by staff regarding small cell and distributed antenna systems technology and recommends the adoption of the ordinance amending Title IV regarding small cells and distributed antenna systems, Option A. The Committee of the Whole also requests Section 10 of the ordinance be amended to read, "The city, quote, the City of Renton fee schedule is hereafter amended as shown in Attachment C. The City Council authorizes subsequent amendments of the City of Renton fee schedule to be made via resolution," end quote. The committee further recommends that the ordinance incorporating the stated amendment be presented for first reading and advanced for second and final reading at tonight's council meeting. And this is signed by Council President Prince.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move that the council concur in the recommendation of the committee of the whole committee.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Mr. Person, that council concur with the Committee of the Whole report. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And that is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Person.
The Finance Committee has a couple reports this evening.
Okay, the first Finance Committee report is regarding approval of claims and payroll vouchers. The Finance Committee approves the following payments. Accounts payable, total payment of $6,537,105.40 for vouchers 54070 and 362788 through 362790, 362802 through 363153, payroll benefit withholding vouchers 5717 through 5727, and 362791 through 362801, and 3 wire transfers. Payroll, the total payment of $1,305,945.21 for payroll vouchers, which include 610 direct deposits and 20 checks, December 16th through 31st, 2017 pay period. And number 3, Kidder Matthews, total payment of $147,033.04 for vouchers 1322 through 1324 and 5553 through 5573. And this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
well, this voucher run includes, which is really a good deal for our citizens, the Mercer Island patrol boat that patrols for us, $66,081. And now you'll understand why I was concerned about who's paying electric bill on the poles. $152,344.73 this month for our Puget Sound energy bill. And believe it or not, U.S. Post Office, $36,250. to keep our postage meter going so we can send the utility bills and other communications out. My last one, East Side Veterinarian. I just let you know, our officers picked up 13 cats and took them to the vet, 11 dogs for the month, and that was $15,134.74. And so we are treating any animal that we get very, very good. With that, Mr. Mayor, I move that council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the second Finance Committee report is regarding compensating Steve Kincaid at Step E of Grade A23. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to authorize the City Council to compensate Steve Kincaid for the position of GIS Analyst 2 at Step E of Grade A23, effective January 1st, 2018. And this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Person.
We have several examples coming up of what the hot market is for employees. We have difficulty getting, this particular employee is coming from a different city, and we're going to be paying him exactly the same as he was in the other city, just to get him here to fill a position that we've had vacant for a long time. With that, I move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second?
Been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the third Finance Committee report is regarding a request to convert a Maintenance Services Division Secretary 2 position to an Administrative Secretary 1 position. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the conversion of a vacant Maintenance Services Division Secretary 2, pay grade A07 position to an Administrative Secretary, pay grade A09 position, with the estimated fiscal impact of $2,896 in 2018. A budget adjustment will be included in the next quarterly budget adjustment ordinance. The Maintenance Services Division Administration budget has sufficient funding in its 2018 budget to absorb the increase in salary, and this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Person.
Excuse me, I move that council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
The fourth Finance Committee report is regarding a request to hire Maintenance Services Division Maintenance Services Worker 3 at pay grade A12 Step D. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence with the staff recommendation to approve hiring a Maintenance Services Division Water Section Maintenance Services Worker 3 at pay grade A12 Step D. The fiscal impact of hiring at Step D is $3,038 in 2018. The Water Maintenance Section has sufficient funding in its 2018 budget to absorb the increase in salary, and this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the council concur the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Mr. Pavoni, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the final Finance Committee report is regarding a contract agreement with Davy Resource Group. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the 2018 contract agreement with Davy Resource Group Incorporated in the amount of $124,000 for consulting certified arborist inspector to assist with the Community Services Department Urban Forestry Program and Community and Economic Development Department tree requests for service. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
I
Person.
move the council concur in the Finance Committee report.
Second?
It's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
That's it, Mr. Mayor. I
Okay,
can't find
thank
any
you.
more.
Ms. Witchy.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. McIrvin.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Planning and Development Committee has one committee report.
This committee report is regarding Newcastle Montessori School. The Planning and Development Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to add the review of the impact fee schedule for small schools and daycares to the docket to ensure these uses are not prohibitively cost burdened, and this is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. McGurven.
I move that the council concur with the Planning and Development Committee report.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. McGurven, second by Mr. Pavoni, that council concur with the Planning and Development Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Want to thank you for working through that issue as quickly as you did. That's going to make a big difference for a lot of people. Okay, Ms. Perez.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and Mr. Pavoni?
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moving on to legislation.
Okay, the first item of legislation is a resolution. This is a resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, setting a public hearing date regarding vacation of a portion of North 38th Street between Meadow Avenue North and I-405. James Tasca, petitioner, BAC 15-001, PRM-25-0064.
Okay,
Oh, was that me?
we'll
Okay.
take it from anybody.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. McGurven.
I move that the council adopt the resolution as read.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. McGurven, second by Ms. Perez, that this resolution be adopted as read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the next piece of legislation is for the ordinance for first reading and advancement to second and final reading, and it is option A of the two listed on the agenda. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending subsections 4-2-060.p, 4-8-080.g, 4-8-1-120.c, 4-8-120.d, and 4-9-030.e, and sections 4-4-140, 4-9-075, 4-9-210, and 4-111-230 of the Renton Municipal Code by adding regulations related to the deployment of small cells, microcells, and distributed antenna systems by establishing standards for permitting, location, aesthetics, and compatibility for communication structures, facilities, and uses, and amending the City of Renton fee schedule by establishing a fee for a small cell permit and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
move the ordinance be placed on advance to second and final reading this evening.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Ms. Perez, that this ordinance be advanced to second and final reading this evening. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, and I will be reading this again for second and final reading. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending subsections 4-2060.p, 4-8080.g, 4-8120.c, 4-8120.d, and 4-9030e, and sections 4-4140, 4-9075, 49210, and 411-230 of the Renton Municipal Code by adding regulations relating to the deployment of small cells, microcells, and distributed antenna systems by establishing standards for permitting, location, aesthetics, and compatibility for communication structures, facilities, and uses, and amending the City of Renton fee schedule by establishing a fee for a small cell permit and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Ms. Perez, that this ordinance be adopted as read. It requires a roll call.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Person?
Aye.
Ms. Witchy?
Aye.
Mr. McGurven?
Aye.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Pavoni?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor. All ayes.
The ayes have it.
Okay, the final piece of legislation is an ordinance for second and final reading regarding undergrounding. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending Section 46090 of the Renton Municipal Code, clarifying regulations and exemptions for utility undergrounding requirements, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. McGurven, that this ordinance be adopted as read and requires a roll call.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Person?
Aye.
Ms. Witchy?
Aye.
Mr. McGurven?
Aye.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Pavoni?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to new business, Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This Monday, January 29th, there are no meetings. It's a fifth Monday, so we'll all have the night off from being here. On Monday, February 5th, at 6 p.m., the Committee of the Whole will meet in council chambers, and we have one item on the agenda, Community Services Department year-end. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Person?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. No new, no committees to announce. However, the city received a letter from Juan and Esperanza Arroyes concerning the fees for carport. I'd like to refer that letter and issue to the Finance Committee.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Person, seconded by Ms. Perez, that correspondence in regards to fees for, did you say carports?
Carport.
Be referred to the Finance Committee. Any discussion, questions?
Mr. Mayor, this is at the request of staff. Apparently what happened is the fees to do a carport are just exorbitant,
Okay.
and they're looking for a fee waiver. And I think, from what I understand from staff, is that they feel that this should be taken a look at, and that's why it's been referred.
Okay.
I just assumed that you had a copy of the
No,
letter.
I haven't seen it. I was just wondering if that would go to, more appropriate to planning and development?
No, we take care of the fee waivers.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So you want to give a copy of that to the clerk?
Yeah, I just assumed
Oh, you do?
they got one.
Okay.
There you go.
I just figured I was the last guy to get it, you know?
And thank you, Mr. President, I'll take that.
Ms. Witchy?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Utilities Committee will be meeting on Thursday, January 25th at 3:30 PM in the council conference room. We have two items on the agenda. The first is the agreement with RH2 Engineering for the PRV station rehab study. And the second item is emerging issues in utilities. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGurven?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Right after the Utilities Committee on Thursday, January 25th, the Planning and Development Committee will be meeting in the council conference room at 4 p.m. Two items on the agenda. One, long-range planning docket / work program discussion, and two, emerging issues in CED. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Perez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, February 5th, at 4:30, the at 5:30, the Community Service Committee will be meeting in the council conference room. We have two items on the agenda. One is emerging issues in community services, including neighborhood associations, communication concerns, and I'm going to be adding also the clean up of transient camps. I can pass to you. And the second will be community center exercise equipment condition. That will be
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I
Mr.
think
President.
I forgot to announce for
For Randy.
Randy, the Transportation Committee.
I'll get back to you in just a sec. Okay, so we got that, we cleared that up. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that request one more time?
Is clean up of transient camps.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we have that.
I guess we'll, just thinking that'll be fine, we'll work it out. That's a code if it's on public property, Community Services has been handling those cleanups, which would fall to Community Services Committee generally. In private property, that's code enforcement, which is generally our Community and Economic Development. We'll just have them there, I guess, for that meeting and then decide in the future whether that goes to Planning and Development, which usually deals with code amendments or whatever else we might need.
Okay,
So for now, I guess if the council's okay, we'll start with Community Service and then you can decide where you want it to go from there.
Sounds good.
okay. Mr. Pavoni?
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Person?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for Randy Corman, the Monday, February 5th at 4:30 PM, the Transportation Committee will meet in the council conference room. 4 topics: update to airport rules and regulations and minimum standards, the DEMUND, DEMUND, appointment to Renton Airport Advisory Committee, 3, 20-mile-an-hour speed limits in neighborhoods, and emerging issues in transportation.
Okay, thank you. What's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Ms. Witchy, that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.